We look at how reporters work at the front line despite the risk of contracting the virus. A former Tzu Chi recipient learns to cook vegetarian food for her family. Welcome to our headlines. I'm Siri Su. Thank you for joining us. Facing the pandemic, many people will take measures to avoid contracting the virus. However, news reporters must work at the front line to alert the nation. As a result, in the past, there were news reporters confirmed positive for COVID-19. Despite the risk, news reporters still show their responsibilities to report at the front line. How do they prevent themselves from contracting the virus? Let us visit these reporters at .itv.
In the early morning, news reporters have to be up, ready to prep for the freshest wave of news. On the whiteboard, agendas are set for the upcoming future. A moment to stare at the computer monitor, and another moment to wear protective clothing. Before we even realize, these reporters are already at the scene. Under high heat, reporters must be fully protected against the virus. The same goes for media equipment. Under the pandemic, every measure must be taken. After talking with the interviewee, the reporter is ready to begin the process. Ling Yiting has been a reporter and an anchor woman for 3 years, as she was also at the scene of the Tarraco train derailment, reporting in news no matter the weather. She describes herself as bold, doing things directly without a second thought, but she still takes full protective measures against the virus.
I feel like as a news reporter, we have to bring everyone else inside. Like real stories of people, we must share these with everyone. Since the virus is invisible, we must protect ourselves seriously.
Ling Yiting's hometown is in Hualien, but after a level 3 alert, she had to cancel trips back to her hometown. Even though she misses her family, she still insists on taking COVID prevention measures.
I haven't been back home after the alert because before I wanted to go home, about one trip per 2 or 3 weeks. But after the pandemic broke out once more, I haven't made the trip.
During early 2021, Taoyuan General Hospital reported cluster infection cases. At the time, many avoided this hospital, yet reporters made their way in. Camerawoman Ye Yiling is close to the virus, yet she was never frightened due to the spirit of reporting news.
I'm still scared, but the feeling of going forward covers the feeling of fear for the virus.
Suffering taken as a mean of nourishment, this is what reporters live on. At the first moment, reporters never feared but think of ways to do the report. There are also times when reporters walk on the dangerous edges.
I think that reporters are at a higher risk now, probably around the middle to high zone.
Sometimes in order to do interviews, reporters must go into places where others fear. Reporter Wu Yixuan and Wang Zhaozhong are fully prepared before entering a COVID zone.
My partner told me to not leave the vehicle, stay in the car, then he ran out himself.
Into the COVID zone, though footage is captured, things don't end just yet.
During rapid screening, I felt like crying because of the simulations to my nasal cavity. I hope I do not have to undergo this anymore.
A Tzu Chi sister of mine, she's a doctor. She told us the correct ways to wear protective clothing, so under the requirements of protecting ourselves, we're able to do interviews. As the pandemic spread, the media industry was heavily impacted, and many were disturbed. They must bring news to the public in order to keep everyone connected. Risking their own lives for a good purpose, let us hope that these messengers may stay safe at work.
During mid-May, the pandemic broke out again in Taiwan. The pandemic situation brought much pressure to frontline medical workers. 2 former medical workers, Ms. Yang and Ms. Chen, both have their own life goals. But after seeing the large demand for medical workers for hospitals, both of them came over to Taipei Tzu Chi Hospital to serve at the front line. They're now serving COVID-19 patients who are staying in the dedicated wards. Let's meet these medical workers battling the pandemic.
A nurse is ready to head into the dedicated ward. Yang Tingyu, after graduating from TCUST, served at the Yuli Tzu Chi Hospital. She originally planned on doing nursing work on remote regions outside of Taiwan, but due to the pandemic, she canceled her plans. After knowing that medical workers are lacking in Taiwan, she willingly served at the Taipei Tzu Chi Hospital.
The government is hiring people, so I fill out the form. Actually, I asked if there's a need here because I thought since I knew Tzu Chi before, it would be more familiar for me.
平安健康啊，然后问他们说今天有没有开心，然后希望他们可以加油。
Under Tzu Chi's education and medical training, besides taking care of patients, Nurse Tingyu also takes care of their mental state.
不止在身体上，还有
We give them not only body care, we give them supportive things like writing cards, things that will take us time. Sometimes I write a card for hours. As for children, I have to use drawing or drawings. I want to help them.
Another nurse, Chen Si-an, is also a colleague and college friend of Yang Tingyu.
I look at the news every day. Everyone works hard, so I thought of helping out. With the time and ability, I want to help medical workers.
With a height of 170 centimeters and a calm appearance, Chen Si-an has a warm heart.
Eye communication is important. I will never stand up and talk to patients because not everyone likes this feeling. So I feel like it's best if our eye levels are on the same level. Most of the time I kneel down, even when I measure their blood pressure.
Though both young nurses have other plans in life, they insist on helping out medical workers in Taiwan after seeing the need. Working under high risk, they are back at the front line safeguarding the health of patients.
In Taiwan, a trade company owner has lost his right limb strength due to a stroke. When he underwent rehabilitation at Taichung City Hospital, he once fell very low. Despite that, with the sincere companionship of the doctor and therapist, he completed 3-month rehabilitation. Now he can walk and run. To thank the medical staff, his family has delivered a thank you letter and snacks. With the therapist's help, the patient is learning to walk again. After 3 months of rehabilitation, he can walk and even run. The patient is a trade company owner. After suffering a stroke, his right limbs have lost their strength. While undergoing rehabilitation at Taichung City Hospital, he once felt very depressed. We asked the nurses and therapists to pay extra attention to him. In addition, we adjusted the medications so he was able to get through the depressing moment.
We accompanied him with sincerity. Then gradually, he gained confidence. Then the situation improved, and he was willing to cooperate.
His family is very touched to see how his health has improved. They wrote a thank you letter. In addition, seeing how the medical staff is working hard in the pandemic period, they have also delivered snacks.
We are willing to serve with sincerity and do more than treating the illness, so we had a different interaction. I think this is Tzu Chi humanitarian spirit.
Under the pandemic, the harmonious relationship between the patient and the medical staff has encouraged everyone. In Bhutan, many hospitals are facing shortage of medical supplies due to the pandemic. Tzu Chi Foundation has purchased oxygen generators, masks, and protective gowns to be sent to Bhutan. In response, the Gyuryong Charitable Trust Fund has sent a letter to thank Tzu Chi for its help. The boxes of supplies are wrapped with kata, meaning the supplies come with people's best wishes. These are medical supplies Tzu Chi Foundation has donated to Bhutan. They include 100 oxygen generators, 100,000 masks, 19,980 N95 masks, and 7,692 protective gowns. On the day of donation, Tibetan Dharma masters have chanted the sutras to give blessings. These supplies will be handed over to Central Hospital to be distributed to 20 counties with severe pandemic situation. They're expected to help relieve the needs of 31 hospitals. The Gyuryong Charitable Trust Fund has sent a letter to thank Tzu Chi Foundation for the timely help. The letter mentions that the supplies have come in time to help Bhutan get through the pandemic. In In Malaysia, former Tzu Chi recipient Tzu Chi has come across Tzu Chi because of her husband's accident years ago. Tzu Chi volunteers also introduced vegetarian food to her. She has learned to cook vegetarian dishes from reading Tzu Chi monthly and researching on the internet. She said that she has lost weight and improved her health since she started to eat vegetarian food. She hopes to cook more vegetarian dishes that her family will enjoy.
I watch YouTube like this. I can make vegetarian sauce. Getting rid of the meat, I can make the sauce. I want to make the sauce as my children can eat it with rice. Tzu Chi's sister gives me Tzu Chi monthly every month. Sometimes I read the recipes in a book. All in all, I learn by myself. If I do not know how to do it, I would check out YouTube.
Tzu Chi, who lives in Selangor, has learned vegetarian food cooking skills by reading Tzu Chi monthly and researching on the internet.
I buy vegetables that are easily cooked. Do not ask me to cook vegetables that are hard to prepare.
Tzu Chi has come across Tzu Chi because of her husband's accident 4 years ago. Her family has since tried vegetarian food.
Tzu Chi's sister called and said someone donated vegetarian food. Do we want it? I replied yes. After eating it, my son said, "Mom, it is tasty. Where can we get it?" My husband also said that we should cook vegetarian food, as we haven't had it for days. I was surprised to hear him say that.
Switching from a meat diet to a vegetarian diet, Tzu Chi has lost weight and improved her health.
In the past, I did not eat that much vegetables, and I kept getting sick. Now I no longer get sick. My skin has become smoother.
他也吃菜吗？有时候我切的菜哦，我们菜根那边不可以吃的吗？给他了，他就慢慢自己吃了。
现在是会比较多一点吃蔬菜嘛，比起以前。
有啊，妈咪。
Compared to the past, now when my mother cooks cabbage and carrots or lettuce, I will eat them.
炒油嘛，我都会去吃。
For Tzu Chi, cooking healthy vegetarian food for her family gives her the most blessings.
In Malaysia, 12 years ago, Malacca Tzu Chi volunteers have started to care for a family who begged for a living. As the father was elderly, the mother suffered from mental problem, and the daughter was only 10 years old. Volunteers accompanied the family. After their father and mother passed away, volunteers continued to care for the daughter. The daughter is very grateful to Tzu Chi volunteers who have inspired her to face life's challenges.
With tears in her eyes, Miss Chan is deeply moved as volunteers have come to her mother's funeral. Tzu Chi's sister Paul has helped me a lot. She has accompanied me since I was little. She understands everything and she has given me advices.
Sometimes after work, I would go and help her with schoolwork. After I sent her mother to the care center, Tzu Chi volunteers provided care for her.
In 2009, Malacca Tzu Chi volunteers started to care for Mr. Chan's family, as Mr. Chan relied on social welfare and begging. Volunteers help clean their living environment and improve Ms. Chan's hygiene.
When we first went to his home, the situation was terrible as he could not clean up. He placed the supplies people gave him at home. Mr. Chong was 74 years old, and his wife suffered from mental problems. They have a 10-year-old daughter.
I like this pillow and the bed. They have cleaned up this house.
I think this family really needs our help. Sometimes I would guide her with Jingsi aphorisms. I think it is important for her to harbor gratitude and know the life's principles.
However, Mr. Chang passed away due to illness in 2010, and Mrs. Chang was sent to a care center. Despite life's difficulties, volunteers have accompanied Ms. Chang for the past 12 years. I'm very grateful to people who have helped me. I appreciate what they have done. Tzu Chi volunteers have guided me. When I have the ability, I want to help other less fortunate people.
In Bohol Island, Philippines, there's a young man who suffers from Hirschsprung's disease. City volunteers have provided his family with medical subsidies so he could undergo the necessary surgery. After he returned home, volunteers brought food and multigrain powder so his health can improve. Currently, he can stand up and eat by himself, and he hopes to return to school and become a priest in the future. Let's take a look.
Dongdong, who suffers from Hirschsprung's disease, cannot have bowel movement or consume food. Being 18 years old, he's emaciated and has to quit school due to poor health.
In the beginning, I thought I could not live anymore.
In his family, Dongdong is the 6th child among the 9 children, and he has worried his parents.
He feels sorry for his parents because he cannot do household chores, carry heavy items, and he cannot go out with his friends.
He has suffered a lot since a young age. I can only pray to God for him.
With Tzu Chi's help, Dongdong has undergone a surgery in September of last year. After he returned home, volunteers brought fruit and multigrain powder weekly. Dongdong's health has improved over time.
I thank God for giving me a second chance at life. I want to attend school to repay my parents who have stayed by my side, and Tzu Chi, who has paid for my surgery.
Currently, Dongdong can stand up and make juice. He hopes to be able to go back to school and become a priest one day. He wants to help other people in need and bring hope to other less fortunate people.
For those students in experimental schools, there's not much pressure in getting good grades. It is because courses are not designed with traditional exams. In addition, teachers don't judge children based on their grades. However, don't underestimate the children's learning just because they aren't faced with exams. In reality, many of the domestic experimental schools in Taiwan are student-led learning. It means the students decide what they want to learn. Maybe they learn more meaningful lessons than traditional based curriculum. In today's series of My Different Kind of School, we take a closer look at the types of learning in these experimental schools.
The vehicle stops by the roadside in Wulai district and the students get out.
When we go to school, the school bus will drive to this drawbridge and we will run 2 kilometers to school. This is to prepare us for our graduation challenge.
Some run fast, some run slow, while others might not have enough energy.
I see friends who run a bit slower. I'll slow down to wait for them and run with them. It helps them mentally as support. I sometimes will push them or have a chat while running. It helps.
A breath of fresh air, the beautiful scenery, the students finally arrive at the school campus.
Our design in the beginning for the graduation challenge was like a turn of the age ceremony at the age of 12.
所以它会有一种很天真的，会放松一点。
那你要不要让羽毛稍微再贴你的身体一点？对，你的头再高一点。我的毕业制作原。
My graduation project stemmed from my interest in clothing design. Green is for nature. I decided it, and sewing was challenging. But when I made it happen, I felt great.
成功很开心这样子。
In the past, it's hard to imagine influencers and YouTubers could be a job. The future is filled with changes and possibilities. I hope our children aren't just learning from the past, but also facing the future environment. This is where experimental schools are at an advantage.
客人好，欢迎来到大平实想带你们认识校园。
A life filled with creativity, the students of Daping Experimental Elementary learn lessons not out of a textbook, but from their natural habitat.
是黄金斑节，吃它的食草是华卡塔豚，到了中龄幼虫的时候，它的颜色就会变成有点像白马，就是黑白色的。
From the 1st to the 6th grade, I saw butterflies of all types at school. It inspired me to get my license as an ecotourism guide. I want to present the beauty of the school campus to everyone.
Next to the basketball court at Daping Experimental Elementary School, there's an evergreen maze that is nearly 330 square meters big. When the children enter the secret garden, they can not only learn about the butterflies in their natural habitat, but also enjoy the maze.
Normally, students learn about butterflies through textbooks or video. Our school has built a butterfly habitat where the students can see the lifespan of the butterfly in their natural environment. It's not the same as learning from the textbook.
A butterfly-filled campus and learning in nature, the students here become very observant of the environment around them.
Tap water contributes to much of our food-related problems, including chlorine building up in the body, which will eventually harm our health.
4th grader Zhen Jingwei has discovered a problem with the tap water and built a water filtration system to solve it.
Turning this dirty water into such clean water makes me proud of what I can accomplish.
我的研究主题是泡面，我要用泡面做一道创意料理，科学面、麦芽糖、二砂糖，还有水，还有坚果少许。
During research class, 6th grader Yu Youjun can now freely express his opinions. But 2 years ago when he transferred here, he was a reserved student who didn't talk much.
The former school didn't care if we enjoyed going to school, but focused on grades and that's it.
In the past, he would often say he had a stomach ache, and we would have to pick him up at school. Later on, we realized that he is not actually sick, but maybe he did not like the school environment.
这里面就有种很多的绿叶食草，然后里面有一些蝴蝶，现在在上面的，我看一下有没有。那个就是淡文青斑蝶的蛹。
那个吗？绿色那个。
Now Youjun heads to school with a smile on his face.
He's becoming happier and happier here.
老师的上课。
The teacher's style of teaching is lively and filled with laughter. It's easier for me to feel relaxed.
就有办法放松。
Experimental education may be a quiet revolution taking place, as when students find an educational environment which suits them, their ability to shine is far beyond our imagination.
In Guatemala, Tzu volunteers have distributed aid supplies to residents affected by the pandemic. In addition, Tzu volunteers have received the government's request to help residents affected by storms. Therefore, Tzu volunteers have conducted home visits to understand the residents' needs. We'll leave you with these images. Thank you for joining us. Goodbye.